Hello, what's going on, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me here this morning again on Narcissism 101, Cracking the Code, with me, Paul Wisdom. Good morning. Hope everybody's having a good Thursday morning so far. As you can see, the sun is shining out again and the sun is looking beautiful outside. I hope that you guys are doing beautiful as well. So, before we get into what we're going to talk about today, if you'd like a one-on-one session, please email me, paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or you can send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some more advice, if you're trying to figure out whether the person you're dealing with is a narcissist or not, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to give you the help that you need. If you would like to call, just to let you know, if you'd like to call, before you call, just send a text the number and let me know it's you and that you want to talk about your narcissistic experience and that you've been watching my videos for quite some time. Then I'll be able to help you out. If you just call me, I may just block the number just because, again, I don't just answer random phone numbers. They can be anyone. So just send a text, let me know it's you, and then I can give you the help that you need. All right? All right, so let's get into what we're going to talk about today. So, what we're going to talk about today is be careful who you let into your home. Yes, be careful who you let into your home. Yes, this is something that I don't think I've touched on this channel yet, but I believe it's very important to talk about because not everybody not everybody has good intentions for you, and I think I mentioned that in some of my videos. But specifically, when it comes down to your home is supposed to be a place where you can relax, a place where you can let your hair down, a place where you can be yourself, a place where you have at least peace of mind. At least that's my hope. And who you let into your home sometimes it can turn very, very dangerous, even deadly. I'm not trying to speak lightly. I don't say that lightly, and I'm not trying to sound extreme. I'm just being real because I'm sure you all have heard a lot of stories where people have let people into their homes and didn't know that, thought that these people, excuse me, had good intentions, that they were nice and all that stuff, and then you come to find out that these people are evil, in fact that they are predators and that they are criminals. Some of them can be criminals, can have criminal records, right? So how this relates to narcissism is that a lot of people don't even realize that the person that they just invited to their home into their home is in fact a narcissist, right? Because what you have to understand about narcissists is that narcissists don't always approach everybody the same way, right? That's what gets a lot of people about dealing with narcissists is that these days, especially in this day and age, people think that just because they've heard of the love bomb stage, the devaluation stage, and the discard, and then the Hoover stage, and all that different type of stuff, the trauma bomb, the narcissistic fog, all these things that have to do with the cycle, just because they've heard about these things, they think that the narcissist is going to do this exact same thing with every single person in the exact same way. It's not the truth. The truth is that, remember what I said before in my videos, narcissists, they come at you in many different shapes and sizes and different angles. Some of them come at you playing the victim. Some of them come at you wanting something from you. Some of them just go straight to the devaluation stage where they're mean and they make demands of you and all that different types of stuff. This is why it's important to understand what type of narcissist you're dealing with. And so many people don't realize that they in fact just invited a narcissist into their home and that it can turn very, very dangerous, especially because when you invite somebody into your house, right? Your house has four walls, right? And so because in the four walls, that person can actually make you stuck in your own house where you're trying to fight your way out. And sometimes it could turn out to be a malignant narcissist where you try to call the cops and they can strangle you, they can kill you because they're very dangerous people, right? So the question that many people are going to ask me now is, well, how do I know who to invite into my house? How do I know if this person is a narcissist? How do I know this? How do I know that? Well, I have the answer for you, and that's why I've created this video this morning and I want to talk about it. So the way that you know who to invite into your house, who should be welcome into your house or not, and if they're a narcissist or not, look at their actions first, right? I want you to imagine that you just met somebody, and I want you to look at how this person acts, right? When you're around them, does it feel authentic? Does it feel genuine? Does it feel honest? Now, hold on a second. Somebody's gonna tell me, well, some narcissists don't are they can put on an act, and they can act like such a good person for a long time, and then after that wears off, then they turn so mean and cruel and nasty. Well, that's very true, and I'm glad that you pointed that out to me. But what I also want to add in is that this is why it's so important to get to know people over an extended period of time. So many people keep saying this to me, and I keep disagreeing with it, but many people keep saying to me that getting to know someone for a year or 2 years is enough. And I keep telling them, no, that is not long enough for you to meet a person. You need to get to know a person over an extended period of time. And the max until you get serious with them, I would say is 5 years. Because 5 years is a good amount of time for you to have seen them when hard times hit. When it's 2 years, that's too quick. Because a lot happens within 2 years, and 2 years goes by just like that. Whereas 5 years, it goes by, but it doesn't go as fast as 2 years. And so this is why I say you need to really get to know people, right? And specifically, you should get to know people when times get hard. Get to see how these people act when times get hard. Do they still have respect? Do they still show up for you? Do they still put others' needs before their own? Right? If they get to see how they act, when times get hard, if they get angry, if they start throwing rage fits, if they start accusing people of doing the very things that they are doing, if they start pointing the finger saying everybody is a terrible person, or they start playing the blame card and playing the victim, like, oh, that person doesn't have it that bad, or oh, I have it so bad, and they start blaming everybody else. If they start doing those things, then that's not somebody that you want to invite into your home. Also, the other thing I want to bring up too is that you need to watch how people act in terms of just life in general. Are they nosy? Do they like to always be a busybody, knowing everybody's business? Now, hold on a second. You're gonna say to me, well, one of my kids is a little bit nosy and all that stuff, and a teenager. Don't. I'm not talking about them. Kids and teenagers, that's different, because when you're a kid and a teenager, you haven't developed just yet. Stop thinking in absolutes. I want you guys to think outside the box. Okay, so when we're talking about kids and teenagers and all that, they haven't grown up yet, so they don't understand the difference between right and wrong. I can say that I was once a child, and I once acted like a child. I was immature. I didn't understand what life actually means, what humanity was capable of when I was a child. But now that I'm a grown up, I understand what life and people are capable of doing. And so this is why it's important, if they're nosy, if they always want to know everybody's business, if they ask you so many questions that feels as though they're not getting to know you, but it feels as though they're interrogating you. Like, it feels like an interrogation meeting where they're gathering information about you, and you're standing there like, why are they asking me these personal questions and things like that? If it feels uncomfortable, if it feels as though every time you're in this person's presence that if you feel like you have to put yourself up on guard, or you feel like you have to act a certain way around this person, that's a huge red flag that you do not want to invite this person into your house. Okay. The other thing too, in terms of nosy as well, is if they're nosy in the sense of they want to know personal details about your life. And when I say personal details, what I'm talking about is if they're asking you, how much money you have, for example. This is one that 90% of narcissists do. 90% of narcissists will want to ask you in some way, shape, or form how much money you have. Now, they're not all gonna come right out and say how much money do you have. Some may do that, but quite a few of them won't always do that, because the thing about narcissists is that they're very sneaky. They don't want people to know that they are doing something sneaky, right? Narcissists want to be able to get away with things without people knowing what they're doing, right? And so if you're dealing with somebody, right, who's always bringing up the topic of money. Now, the topic of money, at some point, people they want to talk about money. I get that, right? Because we all have some money, at least some, right? And we all look at money differently, right? Which is understandable. But if it feels as though they're always bringing up the topic of money and they're trying to make you feel uncomfortable and they're always asking you like, what plans do you have for the future? Do you plan on having kids? And all this different types of stuff like when are you going to retire or things like that. If they're asking you these type of questions, that is a huge red flag that you don't want to invite them into your house, right? Because these people, what they're going to do is if you invite them into your house, what they're going to end up doing is they're going to be snooping around when you are not around. Let's say that you're doing something in your house, you're there with them, let's say you're cooking, let's say that you're on the phone, let's say that you leave your house for a couple moments and you trust this person, right? You trust that they're going to be who they said that they were, right? If you, let's say, leave your house, for example, what they're going to be doing is snooping around your house. They're going to be looking for things. They may even steal from you, right? They may start taking things from you, and then they're going to leave, and then you're going to say, something is missing. And then you call them and then you say, do you know what happened to my thing? I think it went missing. And then they say, nope, I don't know what happened to it. I'm not sure. Do you want me to help you with that, or I don't know? And then then you wonder where things are. They're gonna do these type of things, right? And the other thing too, when you invite people into your home that are not welcome, the other thing is that they're going to take you for granted, right? They're going to take advantage of you. They may start bringing their own things into your house and start taking up space within your house. This is what narcissists do. And they do this so that people don't know that they are doing it, right? Narcissists believe that they should be entitled to have what other people have, right? Narcissists also believe that the rules don't apply to them, right? They believe that if they can get away with this, then they can get away with that, right? That's why it's very important that you be very careful who you invite into your home, right? Don't invite people whom you don't know into your home, right? Now, hold on a second here, right? I understand that some of us are part of religious communities. Some of us are part of, organizations where, let's say that, you're required to, for example, you're required to have, people. You're supposed to go in people's houses and do things, and that's part of your job. I get that. But I'm just saying, for the sake of this video, just be very careful. Keep an eye out. I'm not saying be paranoid. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is be very, very careful who you get involved with and who you invite into your home, and also whose house you go into as well, right? Because just because someone invites you doesn't mean that you are welcome, right? So you can use those very things I just mentioned to you and relate them also to going into somebody's house, right? Because if you now go into their house, they will look for a way to keep you stuck inside their house. They won't want you to leave, right? They'll play the victim and say, oh, I don't have anybody. Nobody cares about me. And, sometimes, maybe 1 out of 10 times that's actually true, that they've had a hard life. I get that. But what I'm saying is that people who actually have respect for other people know that people have lives, right? That people are human beings, right? No normal, stable, healthy person should be telling somebody, making it a thing of telling somebody that, oh, I've had it so hard and, nobody has it as hard as I do. That's just a huge red flag, and that's probably a lie. Because what they are trying to do is they're trying to guilt trip you. They're trying to make you feel guilty for, leaving when it's your time to leave, because they want to keep you stuck, right? And so again, the reason why I create this video is so that you can see the signs, that somebody's taking advantage of you before it's too late. Right? That's why it's important to vet people out. Get to know them really, really well. Get to know also what type of lifestyle that they're into. Are they into living life in the fast lane? Are they a very laid back, easygoing person? Do you feel like you can be yourself around them? I cannot stress this enough. Do you feel, and be honest with yourself, guys. This is where it's really important. This is where being honest is very important. Don't just think that just because, he's a good looking gentleman, that, he has, it seems as though he has his stuff together, right? Or that she's so beautiful and you just want her. Don't go by all that stuff, right? Get to know the person well enough for yourself. Be honest with yourself, right? Do you feel good around this person? Do you feel like you can be your true authentic self around that person and then they accept you for who you are? If that's the case, then I would say it's safe as long as you've gotten to know them for a certain period of time. But if it feels as though you have to always be walking around on eggshells, meaning you feel uncomfortable when this person walks in the room, you feel like you can't really be your true authentic self, right? If you feel like you have to watch what you say around this person, right? Now, hold on a second. At work, we have to watch what we say around our bosses, around our colleagues, because if we don't, we could lose our jobs, right? You could get fired. You could, get reprimanded, something like that. I get that, right? But what I'm saying is your person, right? Who you are as a person. Do you feel like you can be, your own, your own self? Right? Do you feel like you can be, the person, the empathetic, kind person that you are if you are watching my video, right? You have to measure all these things. You have to keep all these things into account, right? Because narcissists are always looking for people to use and abuse and take for granted. That's what narcissists want. They want people who don't know this. That's why when relationships end with narcissists, that's why when narcissists discard people and just throw relationships or throw them away as if it never happened, that's why narcissists go off to different people, because the reason why they do that is because they want to go to people who don't know what narcissism is, who are unaware of what manipulation is, who are unaware of what gaslighting is, who are unaware of what projection is, right? Who are unaware of what object constancy is. Narcissists go after people who are unaware of the cycle, or who they can target next, right? Narcissists don't usually go for other narcissists because narcissists know that narcissists can actually tell who's a narcissist and who's not a narcissist, right? And they won't usually go for it. The only time they'll really go for another narcissist is if that's all that there is around, right? And they're desperate. That's the only time they will really go for another narcissist, right? But truth be told, even if they do go for another narcissist, it's going to be the same cycle, because you have to remember, all narcissists are always jealous and envious of everybody, right? They're even other narcissists, they're always jealous and seeing other narcissists as competition. They want to see if they can manipulate better than that narcissist. They want to see if they can get more supply sources than the other narcissist, right? And if they can't, then they don't see that narcissist as a challenge, right? And so you have to remember, guys, narcissists, they're not who they say that they are, right? And you have to do your due diligence. You have to do your homework, right? You have to be careful, right? Be very vigilant and careful. Now, and by no means am I trying to say don't invite people into your house. That's not what I'm trying to say at all. I encourage you to get to know people, meet people, be kind, and be respectful. All I'm saying is just be vigilant. Be self-aware of what is going on around you, right? If they can't show you enough respect to understand who you are as a person, then that's a huge red flag that they don't belong, that they're not welcome in, that they shouldn't be welcome into your house, right? If they're trying to guilt trip you and when you say no to them, and then they try to say why not, and then they start blaming you and playing the victim, that's a huge red flag that that's not a person that you want to invite into your house. Because you have to remember, narcissists will play any card that they want to on people, right? And many times narcissists will get caught, right? When they many times they overplay, like people have been saying, they overplay their hand, right? They think that nobody's going to figure them out. They think that they're so slick that they can say anything to anyone and that they'll be able to get away with it. Well, they're starting to realize that they can't do that as good as they could in the past, right? Because more and more people are waking up. More and more people are realizing that there is evil on this planet. More and more people are realizing that there are scammers out there that scam people, that go around grifting off of other people to then take and then take from that person and that person and that person and believe that there should be no consequences. Narcissists always believe that there are no consequences to their bad behavior, right? And it's a disorder that they have in their mind, right? That's been inside of them since they were born, right? It's a disorder, and it comes from a parent, right? That narcissistic parent, right? Because narcissistic parents will create the next generation of narcissists, right? I don't say that lightly. I'm not trying to sound extreme. I'm just being real about it, right? That narcissistic parents, that's why once you find out that you have narcissistic parents, you need to do your due diligence and create yourself an exit plan to get away from them, right? And move somewhere very, very far so that they can't target you, right? Because narcissists, they all do the same exact things, just to different people in different times, depending on what those people provide for them, right? So if you provide utility, if you are, let's say, a good son or daughter to your parent, then chances are they will target you for at a later date, right? The when, we don't know the when, but the truth is that they always will, because they're always looking for somebody to abuse, because it gives them supply, meaning it gives them energy to abuse, to take and take and take more and abuse more and more, right? I hope that this all makes sense to you guys, right? That narcissists, that you need to be very careful who you invite into your house, right? Not everybody should be invited into your house just because they're your friend that you've just probably met and you guys have things in common. Doesn't mean that you should invite them into your house right away. Just because you think you've met Mr. Right, for example, doesn't mean that because you guys been on some dates, you guys have been out, he takes you out and he does all that stuff and he has a job where he makes maybe 6 figures or he makes 100,000 a year, doesn't mean that he should be invited into your house even though you've only known him for, let's say, some months or so and you've been on dates. Just because she's so beautiful and so hot and so sexy and she's all that and she, has this and has that and all that different type of stuff, doesn't mean that just because you guys have been on some dates and you take her out and she holds your hand and all this stuff, doesn't mean that she should be invited into your home, right? So all these things you need to be mindful of, right? Especially in this day and age, right? Again, I'm not trying to say don't meet people and don't bring people into your house. I'm saying be very careful who you invite into your house, because not everybody has good intentions for everybody, right? You've heard many stories about how people, invite the wrong people into their home, and then next thing you know, these people turn up dead days later, right? Because they didn't do their due diligence. They weren't careful, right? And understanding that there are predators out there. There are people who are master manipulators who want to manipulate people and want to steal from other people, right? There are people out there, right? They're very dangerous. That's why you need to be very, very careful, right? And if you need some more help with that, I'm here. I can definitely give you the help. I can definitely show you in detail, in depth, what to look for and how to vet these people out properly, right? Because these people, what they're starting to do is they're starting to change the game a little bit more. They're seeing what doesn't work so much with humanity, and they're trying to shift it so that it can work in their favor. But again, to figure this stuff out, you need to see if these people are actually truly authentic. Test them. Now, I'm not trying to say test them in the way the narcissist tests you. Not trying to say that. I'm just trying to say take your time. Get to know them really, really well. Go very slow, right? If it seems and feels too good to be true, then 99% of the time, it is too good to be true. If you meet someone and they're doing all these good things for you out of nowhere, and it seems like it's just too much at once, then that's a huge red flag that they are looking for something from you, right? They're trying to get some supply from you. It means that they're potentially a narcissist that's looking to steal from you, right? So be very, very careful, right? Back off. If they're doing that stuff, back off for a bit and see and look at them from a different lens. And if you back off and start putting up boundaries, then they start getting offended and saying, "Oh, you're so serious," or why are you being like that, or something like that. And they start calling down your phone 30 times or something like that. That's the biggest red flag that you need to see, that this person is unstable and that they can be potentially dangerous, right? So be very, very careful who you invite into your home, okay? So yeah, guys, I hope that this video helped you out. Thank you so much for joining me here on Narcissism 101 Cracking the Code with me, Paul Wisdom. Like I said before, if you would like a one-on-one session, please email me, paul.wisdom_03@hotmail.com, or send a text message to 647-406-3057. If you want to talk, if you want to vent, if you need some more advice, if you're trying to figure out if the person you're dealing with is a narcissist or not, please feel free to reach out to me. Like I said, if you do want to call, just send a text to that number and let me know it's you. Let me know you want to talk about your narcissistic experience so that you watch my videos, and then I'll be more than happy to help you out. And yeah, I put a link down to the podcast below that I spoke on about my narcissistic experience. I invite you to watch the podcast. It's 2 parts. And I'd like for you to like, subscribe, share it with somebody who you think could use the knowledge, somebody who you think could be trapped, and somebody who you think, it sees the good in people a little bit too much. Maybe refer them to this video so that they can see the signs before it is too late, before they get trapped. Okay? So that they can, because the more you send these videos out and share them, the more we can save more people's lives from getting trapped and being abused and getting to places where they never thought they would be. All right? So thank you guys so much for joining me here today. I hope this video helped you out. Thank you so much. See you on the next video.